River Knight, what a cool name. Disability industry expert. G'day, River, how are you?
Good morning, thanks for having me.
Yeah, were you christened River?
I had very alternative parents, which gave me a name that everyone remembers, so I have to be on my best behaviour.
Yeah, no, River is an awesome name. I just love it. Now, you've actually spent a couple of decades supporting people who live with disabilities and the way that they interact with other people. This is something that for some people doesn't come naturally, does it?
No, and it's something that really should. It's in a country we have a culture where we kind of shy away from anything to do with disability and health, mental health, aged care. We don't like to talk about it, and people overthink some of this sort of stuff and make things very uncomfortable. But the way we talk very much shapes the way we see the world and the way we value or don't value people in our community.
Yeah, it's interesting that at the opening ceremony of the Paralympics, there was I didn't see it, but Ali told me about it. But there was quite a lengthy program about educating the world about people with disabilities. In fact, there's a billboard that's bobbed up in Adelaide, and it says there are more of us than people in the Southern Hemisphere, around 400 million more. We're people with disabilities, and we're 15% of the world, and the hashtag is We the 15. And that's part of that program that was launched for the Paralympics.
And it's a wonderful program that's come out, and the thing that we really like about it is it very much talks about we are not special, we are not your inspiration, we are everyday people, and we pay mortgages, and we drink and get tattoos and do all the things that you do, but people are it's just not something that people pay attention to. But it's hard not to, because it's a huge part of our population, and it's more than half of people over 65 that are living with a disability. So it's not something that you need to go looking for in a big way. It's something that's part of our community, and people need to get a little bit more comfortable. So Paralympics, watching that, it's a great way to normalise that in our community.
Yeah, but in other ways, so having a conversation with somebody with a disability, I mean, consciously, you wouldn't change the way that you have a conversation with somebody with a disability, but maybe subconsciously you think, I don't want to say something that's going to offend here, and that makes the conversation even more challenging.
It is. People overthink. So what we find is that if you start from the position of this is just a normal person, then I'm going to probably start in a good space. I have experiences all the time. I had a friend of mine, we went out to lunch. He has a large wheelchair that he uses and controls by his chin because he has cerebral palsy. He doesn't have a lot of movement in his arms and legs. And I had a lady come up to me and say, "Oh, it's so wonderful seeing you out here. You're a wonderful person helping this poor man." And she said to me, "Does he talk?" And I just looked at him and went, "I don't know. Do you talk?" And he said, "Nah, don't talk, sorry, mate." And I said, "No, he says he doesn't talk. Sorry, And she continued, and she said, "Oh, you're wonderful for going out with him." I said, "Am I wonderful?" He goes, "He's not wonderful." He said he was late. And I said, "See, I'm not wonderful." And eventually, she started talking to him, and then she had that experience, and then they waffled, and I kind of stepped back a little bit. And by the end of it, she realised she was just talking to another person in the shopping centre. Well, that's what we want to have more of.
That's interesting, because look, her intention was clearly admirable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think for some people it would come naturally, but for others, as I say, you would overthink it.
We tend to shy away from these topics, which makes people anxious about it. When people go to the shops to buy milk, if they're in a wheelchair, people think, "Oh, do I say anything? Do I do anything differently?" Do people use that high-pitched voice that they use for children and dogs when they talk to people with a disability, and they go, "Oh, how are you today?" And you think, "Oh, really?" But the research that Developing Australian Communities did, we found that half of the people that we surveyed had used a really derogatory form of language talking about disability. 77% of the Generation Z, though, the younger ones, said they're quite comfortable talking about this. So sometimes it's about education. It can be generational. But what we find, and what's really great about that We the 15 movement, is people with a disability are just saying, you know what, just relax, less is more. We are just people.
Yeah.
We're not going to explode. You don't need to walk on eggshells. We know we have a wheelchair. You don't need to worry about it. But you can also have the conversation. We say to people, if you're not sure what to say, to start with the person. So we talk about a person with a disability. We don't say someone is wheelchair bound.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
You have a conversation. Well, look,
Bobby uses a wheelchair.
River, I sincerely hope that our conversation has helped people put more people at ease with initiating that conversation. Thank you so much indeed, mate.
Thanks so much for having me.
River Knight, who is a disability industry expert. We are not far